Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are watching in the world. Sean Driver, the Red Horde, and the Who Are You series continues, this time leading up to Sunday's game against Bolton, the Wanderers, the Trotters. It is another one where we look at the team, the gaffer, the kit, we compare them to a UK food, all of those sorts of things. We're going to jump into that and ask the question... If you haven't been here before, Sean Driver, we run these things before every pregame. Something a little bit different in this one. Well, two things. Again, I'm going to try and do this in one take as much as I can so that I can try to get more things out and do more things in my life. So if there are a couple of hiccups, don't mind them. I'm just talking off the cuff. Well, I've got a script prepared, but I'm going to one take it. But a little something different. We're going to invite a podcast, social creator, content creators, those sorts of people who fans of other clubs to come in, review this content before the match, which is why it's going to come out hopefully tonight on a Tuesday and get out to you guys Wednesday morning if you're waking up in Wales. Give them an opportunity to survey it and come back and say, I got something right, I got something wrong, I'm out to lunch, whatever it is. They'll have a say, and we'll look to do that probably Thursday, Friday, and get that out so you guys can see their perspective of what it is I'm throwing down. I'm going to look into it, jump into all those things, and so let's just go ahead and get into it. And so everything seems to be ticking along so far. I'm going to jump right into it and start to get through things. And I guess the key component to that is to transition into this one and have a look at the graphic as we go through things. Replicated this is as good as you're going to get from a barrister again, who's put together a bunch of stuff. The summary of Bolton Wanderers and where they sit. Their nicknames: the Trotters, the Wanderers, the Whites, the Super Whites. It tends to be, even though Wanderers is in the name, that Trotters is the go-to name. And I tried to find the etymology, the background, the history as to Trotters and how it's all there. And I guess there's three stories and nobody really knows which one is true. Is it because the team used to play next to a pig farm and they were fed trotters, and so that became the story? Is it because for a period of time when they first came into existence in 1874, they were moving around from different pitches, and so they were called the Trotters? Or is it that it's a colloquial term up in Bolton to call practical jokers Trotters? I'm not sure. Maybe the fans will provide some insight on that. Trotters Talk, I'm hoping, will be here to let me know what their thoughts are on that. Smaller population, just up north of Manchester, northwest, 20,067 in the population. That's 22nd out of 24 teams in the EFL. Our latest match with them, February 21st, 1989. That's 35 and a half years ago, some 12,962 days. I looked it up, the UK charts and the US charts, if you're curious, and I'd never heard this song before. Belfast Child by Simple Minds, top of the charts in February 1989. That one, a remembrance, in Simple Minds put that as a consequence of the IRA and referenced bombing that happened in Enniskillen 2 years prior that took the lives of 12 and injured 63 others 2 years before. So you can have a look at that. The US version, a little bit different, straight up. Paula Abdul singing about a guy. And about as opposite as you could get on the spectrum, and the joys of things before the internet, for those of us who remember it, when the charts were entirely different and music around the world was all over the place. Lots of bands that people never heard of, lots of songs that went big. Anyway, a little sidebar. Last season, this close. Bolton this close to getting to promotion. They finished third, and then they ended up in the playoffs and didn't make it through. And so they're slugging in the mud in League One again, and they had an impressive team. They went on an impressive run, and we'll go through some of that and what their changes were. Turnover, 19.4 million, those numbers up to the end of the 2023 season. And so... top of the league. Interestingly enough, their profit loss far more manageable, better managed than a lot of others that are out there. Charlton and Birmingham, and those that spend large despite having turnover not quite as high as Bolton. So fiscal responsibility, something that Bolton takes serious, and I'm good with that. Good sports governance is something to be said, and I think that with their new ownership group that they've got into, and I'll talk about that just briefly in a moment. seem to have their heads screwed on straight. And so I'm impressed with that. Social media, 749,341 followers along the main 5 social networks that are out there: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and I always forget one. It's Twitter, X, however you want to call it. Play in the most comical name this year. I did like Poundland before, but Tough Sheet. It just rolls off the tongue. You're heading into Bolton. Tough Sheet. I know, I'm 12. It's fine. Distance, not that far away. It's going to be the 4th closest travel distance for Wrexham this year. Just 100 kilometers. 62 miles for those of you down in the US, and I guess in the UK, because you guys tend to do miles on your roads. I know that from experience. Away allocation. Now, this is interesting. It is 5,100 is the maximum, but they've trimmed it down, and I read that. I didn't update the graphics. So we're 2,200, but they have the opportunity to scale it up. But they're actively trying to sell more tickets to people at home. The capacity, 28,723. That's the second largest in the stadium, and their percentage last year with their attendance, 21,022. That put them second overall. The pitch dimensions, as I said, an interesting feature that I was unaware of is the different sizes. They've got one of the smaller ones around, 110 by 72 yards. That's a total pitch area of 7,920. Sets them up for 19th. Look, I didn't bring in the window because the graphic was up. Here is the map of the trip up just outside of Manchester for those of you who are looking to make the trip, and obviously you know it for those of us in North America who may not be experts on UK geography. There it is, all for display for you. Here's the story with Bolton, and we'll go through this. They are owned 8% by the British taxpayers through a state-owned bank called the British Business Bank. In Canada, I guess that's akin to the Business Development Bank of Canada. I'm sure they've got one in the US. Basically, after COVID, there was a loan that was converted into shares, and so the taxpayers helping to contribute. The remainder being owned by Football Ventures Whites Ltd. That's Sharon Britton, and I don't have any bad words to say about her as a chairperson. She's been doing a remarkable job. Michael James, Nicholas Lukoc, also directors. And Sharon Britton, as I said, no punches pulled in her fight with the Premier League for better distribution. She spoke out during the UK unrest that's been going on just recently. They might not be the marketing powerhouse that Wrexham is, but an important part of football governance is making sure that you manage what you can control. And as far as management goes, they have, it appears, an exceptional team in Bolton going on. I would anticipate, and I'm actually kind of surprised, I raised their social media being 8th in League 2. They've spent a bunch of time in the Prem. And during the internet era, I would have expected that would have been higher. But in any event, Britain pulled Bolton out of administration. That was the crux as part of the reason why they received a bunch of loans. When you hear administration and you hear potential winding up orders and you hear of petitions being filed with the High Court, those are all things that you don't want to hear. Macclesfield Town, Bury, we can forget about those guys up north. But situations like that, never positive. Wrexham has experienced their fair share of those sorts of issues, but in administration and dealing with things, but they've been pulled out of it, and they've done the plummet. They went, what did they do? They went one stretch where they lost 30 matches out of 46, let in 78 goals and only scored 29, and they plummeted down. They actually touched League Two, and then now they're on the bounce back and trying to scramble their way back into where they were in the glory days, and that's that. Their manager, Ian Evatt, 42. He was with Barrow in 2020, and on that COVID-shortened season, he was able to get them promotion. He's been with Bolton and has pushed them forward. Plays an exciting style, an attacking style. By all accounts, I've been able to find out what that is he'll put everybody on the front foot on the press, and they will come at you downhill. Will Bolton, deep team, and not afraid to be direct and come at you. As far as their kit this year, look, thank you to Football Kit Archive for putting this together. That's this website. Go and check that out. They do some remarkable work there as far as putting everything together. Their white jersey, meh, it's standard, and they have it every year. They've got the white jersey for the home and Super Whites. I guess that makes sense. Their away jersey is vastly different every year. Black and red, they've had yellow, you name a color and they have had it. This one interesting, called the Green Elephant. I'll just click on this and bring this up while it's loading so you might be able to see the details that are in it. You can see the Green Elephant, and it says right next to it, Bolton Wanderers FC's new uniform called the Green Elephant, again a Macaron special, designed in close association with the club's hometown, and it was chosen by the club's fans. Interested on how that all happened, but don't have those details specific there and didn't look them up. And then their third jersey gets some honorable mention. A controversial one. A lot of people, well, it's either love or hate, and I'm more towards the love it. Purple, pink, blue gradient. It's not rated that well on Football Kit, but I like it. Look, into the history of the club. There's the chart, and what do you see? A lot of time at the top, especially early on and all the way through into the 60s, and then they had a bit of a dip, and they were there for 11 seasons, 2001 to 2002, all the way up to 2011, 2012, and their top position, if I recall, sixth. And that was in 2004, 2005. And if you thought that I didn't look at my sheet for that, that's on you, because I actually did. I cheated on that one because I forgot it. Then they had the slow plummet to League Two in 2020-2021. They grabbed the third auto spot, getting the win on the last game of the season against Crawley Town to secure their spot. Their most recent FA Cup win, you got to go all the way back to 1957-58, but they've got one. They've got one, and if you care about the EFL trophy, they've got one of those too, just recently, 2022, 2023. Look, the heart of this team and the heart of this one is going to be talking about the players, and this is no joke. This is no joke when it comes to talking about Bolton. Look, they finished third for a year. They sniffed around near the top of the table all year long. They didn't go through a lot of changes. And in fact, when you look at the players that are there, they have 8 returning players. And I'll come back and revisit this, but Sheehan, their player of the year, is back. Cogley's back. Toll is back. Baxter, their goalkeeper and starter, he's back. And you can also note in this, the graphics are up. Those don't include the EFL Cup game that they had against Mansfield Town where they won on penalties. This is just the game they had against Leyton Orient. Thomason, Santos, Jones, and Charles. I'll have more to say about him. Something to think about just as we talk about that Leyton game, a scrambly one. The podcast saying that was one of the poorer performances that Bolton has ever had. There was a lot of criticism at the half. I will say, watching the highlights, the goal that Charles scored, brutal goalkeeping from Leyton Orient on that one. Sloughed it, didn't get down in time, and didn't come with pace. Beat him to the left-hand side, and also a really poor clearance or take or punch or anything that could have been done on the second goal. Leyton also hit on a crossbar, so maybe fortunate to come away from that with a 2-1 victory, and if I recall correctly, it was Charles who had the whiff in the middle of the box wide open. But we'll talk about him in a little bit. All of those 8 players getting minutes except for Jones. He didn't get any minutes in the first little bit. And they didn't lose a lot of players. They lost a young Edmund Paris Magoma, 23. He was one of their leading goal scorers last year, and it looks like he's poised to stick with Brentford. He extended his contract, but he may go out on loan, and I'm sure Bolton will raise their hands and say they'll bring him back. They lost Bodfordson, 31 years of age. He went and departed. He's without a club. Don't know exactly what he's doing, although I've heard rumors that Charlton did have some interest in taking him. He had 10 goals last year. Then you have Cameron Jerome, 37. He was a sub. He's without a club and I guess still looking. And Declan John, who's took a step down into League Two, and he's playing with Salford, the 28-year-old Welshman. The players they brought in, that John McAtee guy, yeah, we'll just mention his name and then carry on. The last-second snub of Wrexham decided to go with Bolton, and so he can take a flyer. That's that. Chris Farino Joseph, interesting signing from him. He was 4th most in minutes at the team we just last played, Wycombe Wanderers, and I find it interesting at 24 to move from a spot where you're just entering into consistency for the back 3, and then you draw into Bolton, where this is going to be a tougher egg to crack. They've got lots of defenders, and so we'll see what ends up happening there for Chris Farino Joseph, who I've got up there, didn't start in the last one. Nelson Kumbeni, 21. He was extended. He doesn't have a number. He's not on the wiki page. I don't know what the situation is with him, whether he's going to be a loan out. I didn't see any reference to that. And then Sean. I like this guy. And I like him just not for what I've seen in the limited time that I've seen him, but he joins from a top Hungarian squad. He was a top minute man for that squad in the midfield last year, 23 years of age. He's already put in a 90-minute shift for the team this year. I think that's going to continue. But the reason why I like him is this all goes to that the 2-year elite sports person's visas that you're allowed to get. A player can qualify automatically, and every club can get 2 of them where they can bring somebody in and it looks like he was someone they brought in to be able to get the visa off of that elite sports person visa. I guess we never get that as an announcement, but that's what I think every club should be doing. You get 2 free shots, 2 free kicks, and you go out and you get a player and he's either something or he's not. And you can either get somebody like Schoen who you think is really going to fit in, or you can take a flyer. And you can pay the guy a limited salary, and if they end up being something, great. But for Schoen, whether it's a transfer out later on, whether he sticks with the club going on, they seem to have a player, and it's something I wish Wrexham did more of, but I don't think that they're going to with their manager. And Parky's okay. I mean, I will take it. He's a good manager, and he's done the job. I only have 2 criticisms of them. Is 1, the subs come too late sometimes, and 2, I don't think he does enough scouting and surveying the international community to find players like this guy, but we'll find out. Other additions, Luke Southwood comes over and really gives Bolton a legitimate 3 in goal, with Baxter leading the way. And they had Coleman last year, who did 13 league games, and he also had the EFL Cup matches. So well, interesting to see what's going on. And then you've got Osei Tutu, who found 20 minutes in the first game, coming from Bundesliga 2 club Bochum. But he of English nationality, not on the visa, obviously. And then the interesting one for me, Canadian, Scott Arfield. What the hell? I had no idea that Scott at 35 years of age was still playing, and apparently doing a pretty decent job, because he pulled 70 minutes and a start, although he was the lowest rated player, according to FOTMob. I remember him from 5 years ago, being with the Canadian national team. He was capable, but not necessarily impressive. I wouldn't have thought that he'd have a role in League One, and not a name that I ever considered to bring up. Maybe that's just on me being naive. Last time he played for Canada would have been in 2019, and then he had a bit of a run 2022. He was not part of the qualifiers or the Gold Cup qualification stuff. So that was pretty much from him, and he retired at that point. But hey, I'm impressed that he's still there, and I'm interested to see how he actually performed, being the lowest ranked. What do they expect from him? Is he experienced? He's the oldest guy on the club. They are a young team. He's 6 years older than the next one on the list, the captain, Santos. So we'll come to Josh here in a second. Who to watch? Oh boy, there are a ton of options as to who to watch. This is a team that I'm not going to say has any extreme, total, complete superstar. It doesn't have a player who lights it up in goal. It's sort of a score by committee approach. They come at you, they find people. They do have an obvious assist man, and that's this guy, last year's player of the year for them, and players player of the year. Sheehan had 12 assists last year, and he's maybe the most obvious challenge in the midfield. I think that we're going to have our hands full with their midfield. We'll see how that goes. Statistically, I'm going to suggest there's not a lot of holes to this team. They don't excel explicitly in any one area, but they don't fall apart in any one area, and as a consequence they just continue to eke out wins. And I guess that's the sort of team mentality, grind it out, where everybody's got a role, and they're deep. They've got players all over the place. I was talking about other players that you could watch. Victor Odebayo had 10 goals last year. Charles had 14. I will say about this guy, his hithousery is impressive. He scored a goal against Leyton Orient in his chicken dance move, or whatever the hell he did. Got replicated by Leyton Orient when they did their thing. The English-born international for Northern Ireland. He reminds me of McLean in the sense that they're not afraid, those from Northern Ireland, to bring the housery to the game. So yeah, Charles with 14, Adebayo with 10, and then you've got Aaron Collins, who added 8 last year, into the mix. Like I said, scoring by committee, team game, that's what you're going to end up getting. And then who do you throw in at net? There's shown again, Nathan Baxter. 74.4% save percentage last year put him near the top of the league. 42.4% of his matches he pulled a clean sheet last year. Holy shnikes, that's a credit to him, and that's also a credit to the team. He had an impressive save against Leyton Orient to really make sure that they could walk away with 3 points on that one. And there was a podcaster, as my lights all go weird, and give me a second to improve my beautification. Baxter called as the best goalkeeper in League One. And bold assertion there. And I know in Wrexham we'd certainly end up saying we've got somebody better and younger And we'll see how that all ends up playing out. Looking at the stats, and I don't have these specifically going up there, but second in the league last year in goals for, sixth in goals against. So again, offense, defense, both sides of the ball, they're there. Second in the league in possession at 59.5%, and that's still while playing apparently an aggressive style. I was trying to look at the statistics and look at some highlights and find out, look, is there a weakness? What do we find? And the only thing that I can really find where they're really bad at stats is interceptions. 277 all last year. That was second worst in the entire league. And their tackles were middle of the pack. So maybe suggesting that if you can find a way to control the midfield in the middle of the pitch and you can build up through the floor, that there may be an opportunity. I don't think it's going to be by hoofball. They're going to have to come through the middle and with passes. Their tackle's not that far off, so I think it's going to be passing through the midfield is going to have to be the art form. And you look at the players that they've got there, they're impressive. So maybe there's a reason why people don't attack them through the midfield is because they just know it's going to be problematic. They only gave up 10 shots per 90. And so, like I said, that could be an indication that their interception number is just because they don't give up opportunities. Maybe if there is a ray of sunshine and something we can kind of hope for, maybe people shouldn't hope for this. I don't know. But they were third in the league last year in red cards. I'll take one Sunday. Somebody on the team want to grab one? Charles. Hopefully the Hauser, he gets to him and he makes mistakes. I don't want to be defeated going into one, but this is the reason why you're excited about League One, is because you're going to hit some real competition week in, week out, not just in the cup and not just in when you get to the top of the table. There are battles that are going to happen, and we survived one with Wickham when we didn't play our best. We're going to have to get better. We certainly didn't play our best with the B squad against Sheffield United, and so we'll see where we're at. Wrapping it up and hoping Trotters talk. I'll send some questions out to you guys, but I hope you guys have some things to say, some comments to contribute, and some criticisms, and maybe some agreement. I'm looking forward to having that chat, hopefully Thursday night for me, Friday morning, but I haven't set it up with them. It's just all tentative, and we'll see where we go. I always, well, at least this year, I'm trying to link up what a team is like as far as a UK traditional traditional food. Last game I called the Wickham Wanderers beans on toast because nothing special, but the sum is better than its parts. And beans is garbage, toast is garbage, beans on toast. It's okay to Canadians. For the UK, it's a staple. This one I'm going to call whatever you get at a carvery. For those of us in North America who haven't experienced a carvery before, try and picture Bonanza back in the 80s, 90s, when you had whatever you wanted: roast beef, you wanted gammon or ham, you wanted whatever you wanted, and the sides, it's the buffet, the splattering of the Sunday roast dinner, and that's what these guys are. It's just a whole lot of not the best that you're ever going to get, but some pretty damn good food, and that's Bolton. Maybe not the best that you're going to see as far as individual players on the pitch at any one time, but collectively as a team, the Trotters are pretty damn good. Look, we're there for the watch party. We're going to be here for Reading and Wigan on the Saturday because we play on Sunday. We'll be here for the Sunday game, obviously, for Bolton. If you haven't been to a watch party, come and join the community. If you're from Bolton and you're watching this beforehand, we welcome you guys too. Just be civil. Don't be that club from outside the other side of Manchester that thinks it's its own place, Stockport. Don't be them, but be civil. Come and join, and we'd love to have you as we get to know things. If you like this, hit that subscribe button down below. And I didn't do this at all through the whole thing, so let me bring that up. Pating. No, it didn't work. Pating. It didn't work. What am I doing here? There it is. I got to rename this because I always click at the wrong thing. I clicked on that. Anyway. Wrapping it up, Sean Driver, the Red Horde. I'm glad to have you here. Hit that subscribe button, like button. We'll see you for that. This is the Who Are Ya series. Wrapping it up. Have a good one. See you Thursday. We hope. We'll see. Bye-bye.